All right. Good morning, team. Listen, we're in an interesting situation here with Bitcoin. So wanted to go through this with you, show you what's going on with it. There's a lot of positive news out there. This would always seem to be a good thing. Sometimes we have to keep in mind that if there's a lot of positive news and things are happening, that could be a bad thing. That could be a bad thing. It could be a sucker trap. So we just got to take a look at that. One cool thing, we'll do actually two cool things. I've got the diamond hands caricature done. Branding and stuff is going to all be set up on Twitter. Basically, the goal is to aggregate as much of the good information and quality content that I'm seeing everywhere. So from YouTube, Twitter, etc. I'm going to use Twitter and YouTube basically to aggregate that information. That's what Diamond Hands is going to be. Obviously, call myself Diamond Hands means I don't sell. I just don't. That's one of the most amazing things about the Bitcoin community. In fact, let's take a look at this right off the bat, because this was one of the things that I saw, and at first I was just kind of like, okay, we're going to get to the charts in a second. He's breaking down right before my eyes here. For some reason in the morning, I can always tell you what's going to happen with this thing. I will not day trade it, though. I am a hodler. So here's what happened. This is on Twitter. So Pomp, who's a huge guy, Anthony Pompliano, is a huge guy for Bitcoin. Just the entire market owes him about as much as we owe Elon Musk, by the way. He says Elon Musk has paper hands. Someone please fix this. I'm joking, by the way. I don't know how long it was between these tweets, but he says Elon Musk has paper hands. And people were talking about this for days. And I'm just now going to sound in this. I wanted to check it all out myself and see what the deal was with Tesla selling 10% of their Bitcoin position. And they just reported earnings. People saying Elon Musk has lettuce hands. Are you kidding me? Wow. So at first I'm like, wow, we're attacking Elon. What a bunch of idiots. Then I'm like, wait a minute. What an amazing community. Not even Elon Musk, who has been instrumental to Bitcoin getting where it is today, is free from the scrutiny of selling any amount of Bitcoin. Elon responded to, I should have pulled that up, and he said, hey, listen, Tesla sold 10% of the position. I personally haven't sold any of my Bitcoin. But it was just amazing to me, the community of Bitcoin. This is one of the things that makes me very bullish about Bitcoin, because there's no other investment community in which people really hold in high regard. It's like a great discipline is like badass. Like, do you have the discipline to hold through the downturn? Then that's badass. And so whenever discipline is badass, really awesome things happen. You look at like the Navy SEALs, for example, or really amazing the Shaolin monks, like where you see like discipline being seen as badass. Wherever you see that, greatness takes place. So this is one of the reasons why I'm super, super bullish on it. So at first I'm like, paper hands, are you kidding me? Elon Musk does not have paper hands. He is one of the trailblazers. He bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin with his company, which, by the way, as a publicly traded company, is extremely risky. And I think that's the reason they sold some of it. They wanted to show they made a profit. They took a profit. It was good for the shareholders. They didn't screw it up. And I think that they planned on doing that the whole time, is my guess. But remember, publicly traded companies, things are different. Remember, MicroStrategy, the way that they did it was totally different. So MicroStrategy, they went out and said to their shareholders, hey, we're going to do this. If you don't like it, if you don't like the fact that we're going to invest all of our liquid assets into Bitcoin, then what we're going to do is we're going to pay you a premium for your shares. We will buy your shares of MicroStrategy from you for a premium than what they're trading for on the market. So they went about it a different way. Please do not say that Elon Musk has paper hands. It's funny. And I like the fact, I love the community. It's a truly amazing thing. One of the reasons why I feel like I really fit in with the Bitcoin community. But Elon Musk does not have paper hands. Elon Musk has freaking diamond Chuck Norris balls. Let's be honest, okay? And to say anything else is idiotic, frankly. But that's why Pomp jumps in and says, "Hey, I'm kidding," because he has to know that we're not at 52,827, which is where we're at right now. Let's start taking a look at this thing. It's going to crater before I get to my point about how it might crater. All right, couple things here. This big downtrend, this is from the all-time high here, 64,967. This to where we are right now, you can see that downtrend is holding. Okay, and this was one of the things I was worried about. We had another one over here that didn't hold. okay, and actually became sort of a bullish buy signal, but now it looks like it's back underneath. It's not good. Okay, there's a couple of things we need to look at here. Let's zoom in a little bit. On this day, we all remember this day. This was the freak out Saturday night day. So there was a blowout to the downside, and then it went lower. All right. Then we had this right here. We had the stair step higher lows, which is, to me, hey, that means we're going higher, which we did shortly, but then we had the blowout to the downside. Buyer stepped in and picked that up and made a nice double bottom out of it. So this is the 1 hour chart for Bitcoin right here. And in fact, let me zoom it in a little bit for you. So we had that. We had the higher lows here. It was looking for Bitcoin to go much higher, which it did, but then there was the blowout to the downside. So they blew out the downside. So any longs that were in there who saw this formation, they just got blown out. And then the takeoff began. You're going to start to see more and more of this stuff. The more and more Wall Street is involved, the more and more Wall Street is invested in the success of Bitcoin, the more we're going to see stuff like this. And that's why you just have to HODL. Diamond freaking hands, team. Diamond hands. All you need to do. And there's more potential downside. And I'm going to show you how some of the positive news that's been circulated also could be potentially viewed as negative as well. And why that's actually a good thing. It's a good thing because if Wall Street's getting into this party, they're not opening this up to their wealthy clients so that they can watch them lose money. Okay. Once Wall Street's wealthy clients are invested in Bitcoin, all the weapons that they're using to keep it down right now will be flipped and used to make it go higher. So hang in there. Now, as I was drawing this earlier, this is a 1 hour chart here that we're looking at. We hadn't broken any of these red candles yet, so I'm a little late getting to the video, but my concern was that, hey, we saw this blowout to the upside here. That should mean that we're going higher, right? This is taking out the shorts. This candle right here really looks like, and I'll zoom in on it for you. This one really looks like just a market order. And I drilled this down to the 5-minute chart too. This just looks like a gigantic market order, meaning a very big buyer came in and just said, I dump $300 million onto Bitcoin. And that's what would happen. And the reason why that's what would happen is because they just dump it on there. They have no idea how it's going. They don't care. And by doing that, then the market just sort of resumes its normal activity afterwards. And that's why you get such a weird candle. So that's most likely what's happening there. Now, that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the daily. There's that downtrend that we're worried about. We are in a pretty significant downtrend, even with a couple of good days here that we've had. We are in a pretty significant downtrend. I'm going to look here. I'm going to show you the Fibonacci in a second. This downtrend is happening right now. Like, this is where we're at. We're in a downtrend. We did see the 100-period moving average hold on the daily chart, which is huge. In fact, that's where we got the huge explosion from. Big buyers coming in everywhere. Wicks on the bottom here. Everything looked great, right? So that is good. If the 100-day had broken down on the daily, we would have been looking at some really low numbers in the 40s that we would be trying, hoping that would hold and not see the 30s again. That's how significant that was. That was a really big deal. But this also just kind of, if you just look at this, you see we're marching higher, marching higher, marching higher. And every time, we reach a new high, we have a pullback. We reach a new high, have a pullback. Reach a new high, have a pullback. Reach a new high, have a little pullback. Actually, no, it wasn't a new high. Just, high, cycle high, slight pullback, then new high. Each time there's a new all-time high, which is what each of these is. Okay, so new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high. Each time there's a pullback that's pretty significant. Now, this hasn't been pulling back to the 100, though. These have been pulling back to the 50. This one pulled back to the 25. This one pulled back to the 50. When this one got back to the 50, you see buyers came in and said, hey, we see this pattern. We know what this is. We need to buy this. And so they bought this dip right here, expecting the 50 to hold. It didn't. The 100 did. But this also just looks like a normal continuation of a downtrend. It does. That's what it looks like. It looks like a normal continuation of a downtrend. Now, no one is more bullish long-term on Bitcoin than I am. And I'm not telling anyone to ever sell. You should never sell your Bitcoin, ever. You accumulate as much as you can. Okay. When you see it go down, buy more. Have regular investments made every week. Do everything that you can to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Okay. That you will be very happy you did that. And it won't take, I'm not even saying 20 or 30 years from now. I'm saying 5 years from now, 3 years from now. Give this some time. Get us to the next halving and see where we're at. Okay? Do me this favor. Diamond hand your Bitcoin till we get to the next halving, and then you can write me a freaking thank you letter with chocolate chip cookies, etc. So we're gonna, looks like we're probably gonna need this 100 to hold again. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this one. This is the daily, remember, and we're gonna do just sort of a macro Fibonacci here from our all-time high to our recent cycle low. And let's just see where we're at. Okay. Where we're at on this is, we come down here, we went up, came up to the 50, okay, the 50% retracement, which is a very normal place for a continuance. And a continuance in this case, since we're in a downtrend, is lower. And as you can see, that's happened. The downtrend is also, the macro downtrend is also held here. So this stuff isn't necessarily good. Now, I'm going to take us back to Twitter for a second because I want to show you some of the things. Let me see here. How do I get to my stuff? So what I'm doing with Diamond Hands is, especially on Twitter, is I'm trying to aggregate all of the good information about what's happening with Bitcoin. And so a couple things. So like one of the things right here, like in documenting Bitcoin is great, by the way. I'm mostly retweeting, not tweeting stuff. I will tweet these videos out. That's probably it. So you see here, miner net position change. So the miners are hodling Bitcoin, which typically you would think, okay, well, that means that the miners believe that Bitcoin's going to go higher. But are the miners really a good source for that information? Not necessarily. We can't just expect that the miners know what prices of Bitcoin is going to do. Obviously, they believe it's going to go higher, or they wouldn't be mining Bitcoin. So obviously, all miners are bullish on Bitcoin. There's no miners out there who are bearish on Bitcoin. They're not there. They don't exist. What's nice about this, and you see this has been happening a lot since March. What's nice about this and what this kind of shows you is that the miners are making enough money that they have the option to hodl Bitcoin, which is good. It's really, really good. And if Bitcoin continues to go higher, maybe they'll be able to hodl more. And that's great because the more supply we have off the market, the better. You could also see this as negative, though. And this is what I mean. A lot of information can be interpreted both ways. And you could see this as negative because you say, well, these miners are going to have to sell this Bitcoin. Especially if Bitcoin drops a little bit, then the miners will be actually forced to go in and sell a bunch so that they can have money for their costs. So you could see this as just a potential seller stacking up if the market gets weaker, and that could cause more catapulsion to the lower side. So that this isn't necessarily great news. It would be if the miners were experts on the future price of Bitcoin, but they are not. They are just entrepreneurs who believe Bitcoin will go higher. Stock to flow model, getting into Forbes, I think was really, really cool. I wanted to retweet that. Bitcoin Archive, by the way, is hilarious. They're a great follow. And you can see the stock to flow model. It's been spot on. Will it be spot on moving forward? Sure as hell hope so. Because if it's right moving forward, we're going to get in 2025, we're going to get to $1 million. Okay, that's what I mean. So we're 4 years away. Like the next epoch after this one, I know this one just started, we're going to see prices for Bitcoin that are going to be insane if this continues to be correct. So please refer to this. If you ever start to get paper, pansy, lettuce freaking hands, refer to this or zoom out on the charts. Do something, but don't sell your Bitcoin. Don't be a dingbat. There's some interesting information on inflation here too that I shared that I thought would be really, really good. You might want to check out. Lynn Alden, also another great follow. And she's, kind of just broken down some things here. I'll show it to you briefly, but basically okay, here's the CPI, which is supposed to measure, inflation. Here's all the stuff that people need and purchase on a regular basis. Way worse than CPI. So what is the CPI actually measuring? And is it really a good measure of inflation? And the truth is that it's not. It's not at all. And this graph proves that. Inflation happened, the suppression of inflation information is bullish for Bitcoin, by the way. And that's the reason why I retweeted that, because if inflation is far worse than what they are telling us, and I and you or anyone who's paying attention knows that that's the case, then there's definitely a case to be made for Bitcoin to go much higher, because Bitcoin is going to be the ultimate inflation hedge. Ultimate inflation hedge. Inflation is good for Bitcoin because we get Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin in US dollars. When we look that this chart, what are we seeing? We're seeing the price of Bitcoin in US dollars. So if dollar gets weaker, aka inflation, the price of Bitcoin will go higher. And that's and not to mention all the other things that we have going on with Wall Street entering and so forth. So that is the daily rub on that one. There was a couple other things I wanted to show you here. Yeah, and so William Clemente the third is also, he's like 19 years old and like a genius, and he pulls all this great data from Glassnode. He's talking about how a bunch of money has been moved, a bunch of Tether has been moved to exchanges, and Tether is, which a lot used by institutions to buy crypto. So not necessarily Bitcoin purchases, but could be crypto. We know a lot of institutions are going to be getting into crypto. I wonder how many of them will be buying Bitcoin versus how many of them will be venturing off. I think a lot of them are going to buy Ethereum. I think a lot of people, and we're seeing a run in Ethereum right now that's sort of trumping Bitcoin's run. I think you're going to continue to see that because I think a lot of institutions are going to go to Ethereum thinking that there will be more upside just because of the lower price point, literally, and not quite fully understanding the difference in having 150 billion Ethereum and only 21 million Bitcoin. But we'll see what happens. So a lot of money moving around, which is good. PayPal, who opened up their services to Bitcoin, set a huge demand. They're like immediately crushed and realized that they need to put together infrastructure. This is a great read, news.bitcoin.com. Check it out. Bitcoin News is a follow at BTCTN. Check that article out. Look at what they're talking about. They saw a multiple fold demand for crypto information and assets than what they were expecting. So PayPal is going to have to up their internal game to be able to support all that. And that is a great, great sign. This one I thought was funny. Turkey went from banning Bitcoin for payment to setting up a custodian bank in like 5 days. It's true. That is hilarious. That just shows you, government will manipulate. They'll say, oh, we want to ban it. Oh, okay, we're in. Why? Was that on purpose, or did they change their mind? Governments don't change their mind that quickly. They can't. So that is definitely not changing their mind. That's part of the plan. There's also a couple of cool things here that I retweeted about, setups for, this firing to a new high, and that's great. U.S. Bank, the fifth biggest banking institution in the United States, will now custody their clients' Bitcoin. A lot of people were like, oh, that's great. And they're like, wait a minute, I don't want the bank to hold my Bitcoin. That's the whole point of having Bitcoin. I want to hold it myself. I don't even want the exchange to hold it. I want a non-custodial wallet. But it's great because a lot of people, remember, the average person out there to date, not the diamond hands like you and me, but the people who don't understand Bitcoin at all, don't know what it is, don't know how to get it, don't know what to do with it, don't know if they should invest in it or not. People, I'm sure they ask you these questions and you talk about like, what is it? How is it? I mean, they're absolutely ground zero. Those people, which are the ones that we need to get into the game in order for us to get to $1 million Bitcoin or $10 million Bitcoin. I think we'll probably get to 5 million in my life, but I see 1 million in the next 5 years. Just stock to flow, just based on that alone. Those people, though, they need things like U.S. Bank to hold it for them so that they feel okay about it. So that's a good sign, in my opinion. Tesla's master of coin talking to Wall Street about how they bought Bitcoin on their conference call. It was truly, truly amazing. There was one more, I believe, I wanted to show you. Okay, this is the last one from Real Clemente. This is a Glassnode. Okay, let's take a look at this. And this is, again, where you see some of these pieces of news and you expect that, okay, this is really good news, but it also may not be. So this graph down here, this sort of volume indicator, is new accounts. So, new entities, new users on the crypto network. And so if we see a situation like this happen, we can kind of look back in the past. Okay, spiked here and then kind of dipped, spiked here and went higher, spiked here and then went higher. That was the best move, actually, right there. Spike of new users right here, and boom, Bitcoin goes crazy. But this spike right here, and this is the reason that I'm actually concerned about this particular graph. This spike in new users is because of the run up. It didn't cause the run up. These were all the people who were late to the game, saw the numbers, got in late, and tons of users probably buying small amounts, and look what happened afterwards. It got crushed. Went from like 20,000 to 3,000. Massive decline. And so if we're comparing this to this, that's not what I want to see, because that run up there looks just like that. So if all these new users coming in is a sign that something's going to happen based on this graph, it looks like we're going to go much, much lower. And I really, really hope that's not the case. I don't think you can compare today to 2017 just because we have, the publicly traded companies. We have MicroStrategy. We have Elon Musk. And by the way, back to Elon Musk and his not lettuce hands. In fact, we're going to call it his, what did I say it was? His gigantic diamond Chuck Norris balls. What they did, for what you are seeing happen, is you are seeing Bitcoin becoming a household name. In order for Bitcoin to become a household name, you need people who are household names to endorse it and to say they're in on it. Elon Musk is a household name. Elon Musk is one of the richest men in the world. He's all over the media every single day. He's basically driven up Dogecoin, which I hope he doesn't get like sued over when that thing craters. He is a very influential person. He's taken us to Mars. Like, he's going to take human race to Mars. This is a massive, massive situation. The fact that he is out there as a proponent of Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin personally, buying Bitcoin for his company, it's huge. He, as a household name, is helping to bring Bitcoin to becoming a household name. So that is a very, very important thing. And that is part of the reason why we're seeing the spike in new users. So, yes. Good question, Steve. Oh, yes. Hold, HODL, however you want to say it. But whatever you do, just don't sell. Don't sell your Bitcoin. Don't. If you see dips, buy them. Okay. I bought this last dip beautifully. Got up to, a higher accumulation, where I wanted to be. So there is opportunity here long-term. Remember, a lot of people are going to be rushing to the altcoins. A lot of people are going to be going to, like I said, Ethereum, other smaller unknown coins. I think Cardano is good. I think XRP is worth owning. I do think you should own some Ethereum. But like if I look at my portfolio, I'm 92% Bitcoin. And the reason is because the fundamental elements of Bitcoin are superior to all the others, including Ethereum. Not just the supply, which is obviously huge, but also the whole mechanism of how it works. Remember, Bitcoin is not a company. Bitcoin does not have a CEO. Bitcoin does not have an office somewhere. The rules for Bitcoin are already in place, and it's designed to grow your money. Particularly in this situation because of inflation, that is going to, because it is a currency technically, right? It's measured against the US dollar. If the US dollar weakens, Bitcoin will automatically strengthen. So not only does it have the perfect structure with the limited inventory, but also the whole mechanism of Bitcoin, the way that it works, the way that it's peer-to-peer, the way that there is no CEO, there's no face of it, there's no way to lobby it. There's no way for the government to come in and go, hey, CEO of Bitcoin, we want you to do this. None of that exists. So whatever you do, hold your Bitcoin. Hold your Bitcoin, HODL, have those, get them out. Get out those diamond hands, baby. Get them out. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully we don't see a big dip, but it doesn't look great at the moment. Follow me on Twitter at DiamondHandsD, and I will continue to aggregate the best Bitcoin content that I find on there and keep you abreast of what's going on. Until then, Diamond Hands all. See you soon.